What is going on, gut health warriors? And in today's episode on the Kaleidoscope, we're going to be talking about roughage and why this is something you need to look at, whether you're having a flare up or if you're looking to help your gut health, especially your small intestines. Now, I am Dr. Michael Forster, a guy that's been dealing with ulcerative colitis for a very long time. If you are new to this, I greatly appreciate if you do subscribe to this podcast. It does help out this channel. And also, if you have any questions, I always recommend you put them down in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer those questions. We do other episodes where we look at those questions. But today we are strictly looking at roughage. Now, if you do not know what this is pretty much fiber of your food. Now, there are some huge benefits when it comes to fiber in your food, and most people do not realize this that again, when you have foods that are high in fiber, they actually slow down everything in your gut. And the reason why that's very important is because as things slow down, it gives the good bacteria more time to break things down, but it also allows the entire surface area of your gut lining to then absorb all the nutrients from the food, compact it down, and then get rid of it. In very simple terms, when we're talking about this, obviously goes into more depth and everything, but for what we're talking about, this is why we want to know about it. Now, the reason why this is a big issue, though, for a lot of people with gut health issues, especially ulcerative colitis, and I dealt with this for many, many months, and this is something I didn't realize the first part when I was looking at this, is that when you're having high fiber and you have a flare up and all these ulcers, imagine this slow moving thing going through your gut lining, now hitting all these ulcers and then trying to move. What your body's naturally going to do if, say, there's an ulcer here and the food comes, it's going to try to kick it through very quickly. And because of that, it doesn't give your body enough time to actually absorb this. So even though you are eating, say, 2,000 calories, you're getting the amount of calories you need in the day, your body does not have enough time to break that food down, to absorb the nutrients, all the calories, and it is kicking it through your gut very quickly. So when you're dealing with a flare up, there's multiple things you have to look at. First of all, you do not want to eat food high in fiber or have a lot of roughage because this is going to cause more issues. Again, we just talked about how it's moving quicker. It's also more likely going to also cause more inflammation. So imagine, again, you have an ulcer like this, and again, as you put more on it, that ulcer is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, me personally, when I had my last colonoscopy, I had pretty much a flare from the end part all the way almost up into my small intestines. So my large intestines almost had the entire area inflamed with ulcers, which again is mind-boggling, but it makes sense because I literally could barely eat anything, and I was told to just strictly eat blueberries. And now looking at it, I do realize how idiotic that was for me to eat blueberries because while blueberries are very beneficial, they have a lot of healthy properties. They do lack a lot of things and they are a little bit harder because they are little seeds if you're thinking about it. And those little seeds can obviously cause more issues. What I should have been doing is drinking more smoothies, things that are a little bit easier to digest that have already been broken down because when you're eating foods like that, it causes less irritation. Now, it's still going to cause irritation in those ulcer areas. So, again, don't think whatever you're eating, it's going to stop any irritation because, again, that food has to go through the entire canal or the tube, and therefore your body still has to break it down. But when you're having all these other things hitting and bombarding it over and over, you're going to cause a lot more inflammation to those areas. Now, there are obviously things you can easily do to help this area out. Aloe vera is one of the things I definitely talk about. This is something you should look at all the time because this is going to have almost like a gel-like soothing effect on your entire small intestines, your large intestines. This cooling sensation almost acts like a bandage and it actually helps these ulcers kind of calm down, take some of the inflammation away. Now, if you cannot handle that, there are different things you can take. Slippery elm is another one I highly recommend. It almost does the same thing that it really does when it breaks down in your stomach and then starts being utilized. It almost causes this uh, bandage as well, I guess I want to say. It causes like filament that again can lace over your small intestines and therefore again help cover some of those areas. But again, going back to the fiber content, this is something that I think most people do not realize because what I was told was again just make sure you cook your vegetables down. And yes, you should cook your vegetables down, especially if you are in a flare up. Now, if you're not in a flare up, you can obviously test and see how you do with raw vegetables. I still shy away from it, even though again I've been doing very well with my gut health. It's one of those things I do not know if I take a lot of raw vegetables, if it's going to cause more irritation and then all of a sudden cause a flare. Because when you do have ulcerative colitis or any type of GI issues, there are different triggers and everyone is different that all of a sudden can cause that inflammation and therefore again spike this spiraling cycle and causing more and more issues. Now, The reason why you want to cut or cook it down, because then you're able to break it down easier. Because imagine when you're cooking these vegetables down, they're very hard and tough to break down. You obviously want to chew them for a very long time. That's a whole other topic we can talk about, but most people do not chew for long enough. So again, they're eating and digesting these big parts. But when you cook the food down, you're actually causing everything to mush down and get a lot softer. Because it is softer, it's easier to chew, it's easier for your body to break down, and therefore again, it's just easier overall for your whole entire gut health. Now, when we're looking at vegetables, again, cooking them down, that makes total sense. Now, again, there might be some vegetables you may want to avoid for a little bit. Again, you're going to know better than anyone else. Write it down in your food diary. If you do not have one, I recommend you buy one. I can always send you a link if you need one. But like I said, you want to track the food that you're taking, because someone might be eating carrots and you're totally fine with it cooked down. The next person might not be able to tolerate. I, for the longest time, could not eat peas, which again, I really enjoy peas. I just could not eat them. I now can eat them again. I can eat broccoli and all these things that I cook down. But for the longest time, I could not eat them, even if they were cooked down, smushed, even in protein powder. I had to find a different protein. But like I said, it was something that I had to make sure. But going back on the whole fiber thing, you also need to look at different types of foods like seeds, nuts, and even fruits, because fruits is a big one too. Because this is something that I don't think most people think about, is how some of the skins can be very rough for people as well too. So again, eating a banana, very simple. It again mushes down, breaks down pretty easy. So I highly recommend bananas for most people, just because again it is a lot easier to break down. But think about like apples. The skin in apples sometimes can be a little bit more hard on the body itself. I talked about blueberries earlier. Same thing again. There's just little seeds in there that again can cause irritation. Now again, someone might be okay with that, but I was not able to do that. Looking at other types of fruits, I would say even like things along the lines of say maybe cherries and other like berries as well, like blackberries, raspberries, things like that. They have those little seeds as well that again you want to avoid for the most part. But if you do a smoothie with them, I used to do that. But what I would do is I would actually strain, so therefore all the seeds weren't there. So again, it was almost like I was juicing it for the most part, which seemed like it did work out. But overall, like I was saying in the beginning, what we need to look at is again making sure you're not taking on too much fiber, because when you have that flare up, again, you're dealing with too much already irritation to the area. By adding too much fiber, again, you're going to cause a lot more irritation, causing more issues throughout your entire gut lining, and therefore it's going to be more and more difficult. Now, we did talk about things you can take as well: slippery elm, aloe vera. You can obviously even fast as well, because when you do fast, and again, this is all you need to talk to your medical provider about this, but if you are fasting and think about this, you're not taking any food, you're obviously allowing the gut lining to heal up then too, because there's not food coming through. That is another option. But if you are losing weight like I was, I wouldn't recommend fasting, because again, you need to still get calories in. You do not want to plummet your weight too much, because that can lead to a whole lot of other issues. But those are some simple ways. Now there are other ways as well, but like I said, you do need to be following and making sure you're not taking too much fiber, because like I said, it can cause a lot of issues. But once you do have your gut like healed up and you're not having a lot of flare-ups or anything, I do recommend fiber, because like I said, you still want to make sure that food is moving slowly throughout your entire gut lining, because that is what fiber does. It slows it down, it allows your body to break it down, get the nutrients it needs, and therefore again, you're going to get the best health benefits from your food. Because if you're not doing that, same thing, it's just going to kick right through. You're not going to get a whole lot of calories, and therefore again, you may start getting depleted in different minerals, vitamins, supplements, things along those lines, and therefore again, that's where you may need to supplement something in. I do recommend, again, I know I've talked about this before, the probiotics right here, justthrivehealth.com. Go and check them out. Use the code colitis to get an additional savings on that. I highly recommend the probiotics. They also have other supplements as well, but this is something too. If you're having gut health issues, more likely not, your food again is kicking through your entire gut lining. You're not getting all the nutrients you need. And think about the levels of all the supplements. You might be just on the borderline, but if you do have a flare, it's most likely going to just drop that. And even if you are taking enough to get you back up to that normal level, it's going to be very easy to keep dropping past that and again having more and more issues. So again, you want to make sure you get way above and beyond what you need, the recommendations, and therefore again, it will help your overall health. And like I said, when you're looking at just your gut health, you need to look at the entire system. You can't just look strictly at the gut, because if you don't look at everything else, you're still going to have issues. So this is why you do need to use your entire body as a map of how your health is, because if you only strictly look at one thing, you're going to maybe avoid or miss other things that again are causing the main issue. So I do hope you enjoyed this episode on the Kaleidoscope about fiber and roughage and why you should really look into, especially if you are dealing with a flare up, because this is something I don't think most people talk about. And sometimes if you do not know this information, you may be causing more harm than you realize. And therefore, again, you might be increasing more inflammation and causing more issues, and therefore, again, leading a longer path to recovery, which obviously we want to recover as quickly as possible. And sometimes there's different steps you can take. Obviously, each and every person is different. You do still want to talk to your medical provider when it's coming to all this information. But like I said, these are certain ways you can definitely help your gut. I've done it myself. Again, it did take some time going through all these pathways, but that is why we record these. And again, just letting you know about some information that I've learned through my time of dealing with this for about 10 years now. And like I said, there are different things that have worked for me, and I just want to just educate people that are just finding out they have ulcerative colitis, or they know someone that has it, because it is just a massive shock to the body. And therefore, again, you need to know some of this information to help your healing process, because if you don't, you're almost just throwing spaghetti at the wall and just seeing what sticks. So if you already know what does stick, it makes it quicker to heal up. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, share with anyone that can definitely benefit it. I greatly appreciate it, and I will see you in the next episode.